Welcome, welcome. Today, June 29th. It's a Monday, I do know that. June 29th, it's hard to believe it's almost July. The first half of 2015 is gone. Oh my goodness, that's just hard to believe, but it just is because we're smarter. We're smarter than we were at the beginning of the year. So thanks for taking a little bit of time out to spend with us. Tonight we're going to talk about culottes, but they're not even going to look like culottes, and it's just way, way, way cute. We are very traditionalists here at Silhouette Patterns in some ways we're very not, and you all know it. But in the way that we are traditionalists, we are going to start with our 15 minutes of questions and answers. And basically I really like the live interaction, and I think it just gives us an opportunity to ask a couple questions that are quick and easy. If they're too complex, I always have to kind of refer you and say, hey, email me. But I like the quick things because sometimes you guys have been thinking of something and you haven't asked it, and that way you can move on. Questions hold us back. The lack of information holds us back. So it's always good to get those questions off your chest and get going. Alright, so we are ready to get going. We're on YouTube. Alright, question number 1 for tonight. On Diane's wrap, I found that you have to be sure to have enough to overlap in the front. I still have not figured out how to sit in the dress without exposing my legs. Great question. I think that's a great question. Well, first off, when you have a wrap of any kind, we've talked many times about this 8-inch difference between bust point to bust point. So everything in ready to wear follows that. And when you wrap a skirt, when you wrap whatever you're going to wrap, it doesn't go past that 8 inches, and the reason it doesn't go past that 8 inches is because the body is somewhat flat or stable between those 2 points, and once you go past those points, then you have to, in order for it to wrap, you have to build in darting or change lengths or something in order for it to accommodate the changes of the body. So most things that wrap, now that's not everything, but most things, and when that's not the case, then you have to make those exceptions. But most things will wrap from to past center front to that 4-inch point. That includes Diane's wrap. So the wrap goes 4 inches to the other side of center front from one side to the other, obviously. Now, that should not affect your sit down. Your sit down is based on ease. So if you're showing too much leg, that means that the area down by your hips, I've told you when you go to fit Diane's wrap dress, it has to fit in the upper body. It has to have not too much length. The lengths have to be correct, and the circumference from the waist has to be right on, or it pushes that extra up to the chest. But when you drop below the waist and when you go into the hip area, you have to have extra room. If you don't, then it will unwrap when you sit down. So if it's unwrapping too far, that simply means you do not have enough ease built into the bottom of that dress. So when I do a wrap dress for myself, I could hold that wrap dress closed and I could sit down and that wrap does not move at all. So that, to me, that's the point you want to get to. All right, there is an 8-inch overlap. So it can spread a little bit and you'll still be okay. But if you're showing too much leg, then it's simply too tight on the bottom half of your body. Okay? On the tank dress, how can I add box pleats at the waist? The tank dress is, well, the tank, we don't have a tank dress. You're talking about the tank top, and you're making it into a dress. A box pleat is vertical, or when I'm not sure of the question. Obviously, I'm not sure of the question. A box pleat is just a pleat that's opened up to both sides. So I don't think you mean horizontal to the waist. In the pattern of the month is 514. And view 2 has a box pleat. Yeah, view 2 has a box pleat added. So if you're taking that and making it into a dress, you would just extend that pleat all the way down. So I think that's, I'm not sure if that answers your question. If not, ask me again and just clarify it for me. All right. Hold on one second. Your leggings patterns, are there seams on the side? I don't understand the instructions. There are seams on the side of the leggings pattern. Yes, in other words, there's a front and a back. and you don't understand the instructions, you're going to have to give me more than instructions. That's a little bit too broad. So if you can tell me what you don't understand, the layout, the sewing, kind of in general. Yeah. How heavy of a knit do you use for your yoga pants? For my yoga pants, I change it up all the time. I use heavy in the winter and I use really light cotton knits in the summertime, because just like you change any fabric, there's a new fabric up and it's a summer weight yoga pant. I put it up there, I think, for the yoga pant. It's a summer weight knit. It's wonderful. I absolutely bought it for the yoga pants. It's a black, I don't know the name of it, but it's up there on fabrics, and you'll see it'll say yoga pants and it'll say summer suggestion, and it's a cotton. And I've made a pair and I have them on and I live in them. They're really, really nice. Very lightweight. And not even lightweight, but they're cool. So they breathe much more than the Pontoroma. I like a Pontoroma. I like the poly blend. I like that in the winter. I don't like it so much as, in the summertime. All right. On the tank dress, I want to add vertical box pleats at the waist and have the bottom flare out to A-line. All right, so on the tank dress, we already have the box pleat. It's already there, so you would just flare out the bottom. I'm sorry, I'm still not understanding what it is you want me to say back to you. We've shown you how to do the tank dress, we showed you how to do the box pleat, and we showed you how to do the A-line. So let me know if there's one of those three that I'm missing that you need help on. Okay? All right, what other questions? All right, questions. When you make those little sweater tops from the sweater set that you showed 2 weeks ago, are you using the top pattern or the sweater pattern? I'm using the sweater pattern 195. I was in North Carolina. We did Pinehurst last weekend. It was so much fun. All you ladies that were there, we had just a really nice time. I really enjoy getting to meet you all and get to know you all, and I feel like we're all so similar. We love to sew. And it's just a lot of fun. But anyway, we talked about which pattern they like better. It's really funny because I do use the sweater set a lot. They said I use the sweater set way too much. They didn't say that, but I use the sweater set a lot because to me, in my mind, it's what I made as a base. So because I made it as the base, it's kind of my go-to pattern. They said they liked 115 better. They said they didn't have as much success with 195. They really liked 115. I was saying that 115 is 195. The sweater set is 195. 115 is Anne's top. Anne's top has the neckline and a collar added, but it's the same body as sweater set, exactly the same. So these little sweater things that I've done, I have them all over the place. I made those from the 195. But if you already have 115, you'd have to change the neckline a little bit, but you could still do it from 115 as the base. All of those knit bases, 185, 241, 231, those are all the same base bodies. So whatever base you decide to start with, it will still accomplish it. But I used 195. To answer the question, I used 195. Okay? Seaming on the side doesn't show up in the instructions. But okay, if it should be stitched, I get it. Yeah, seaming, they do have a seam on the side. They're not all one piece. Anytime you leave out that seam on the side, you lose control. And I don't think I'm a control freak at all, but I definitely like to have the seam on the side. I think it just enables you to, I think the fabric, it has better control when you have a seam on the outside and the seam on the inside. Okay? How do you slash the tank dress to add several box pleats radiating from the waist down to the A-line hem? All right, so a box pleat is a pleat. All pleats are the same. We're going to talk about pleats tonight. Pleats are adding and taking away. Whenever I have a pleat, my intention is not to add more fabric. I'm just adding the style of the box pleat. By definition, a box pleat is one that is sewn. I've got one on that mannequin, but it's way up there. You can't see it. Anyway, it is sewn and it's the second view of our pattern for this month. But it's sewn and then opened up. I'm going to show you some tonight, but I'm not ready just yet. Anyway, and they're flattened out. So you decide how deep you want your box pleat. Let's say if I want it to be 1 inch wide, then, well, if I want it to be, I'm going to use 2 inches wide, then I have to add in the front 4 inches, because it's going to be 2 on the outside, but it's going to be 2 on the inside too. So if I'm going to add a 2 inch wide box pleat, I slash the pattern, I add 4 inches, I sew it with wrong sides together where I added the 4 inches, so that the 4 inches is sticking out to the outside, and then I open it up the 2 inches, and that will form my box pleat. Or a lot of times when you do box pleats, you only just sew them down a little while, and then I let them open into the fullness of the skirt. So at the top, and I don't know your styling, I don't know what you're doing, but if you are adding box pleats, a lot of times they're a box pleat at the waist, but then they're fullness at the bottom. So even though they only add the same 4 inches because they don't sew them, it makes for added fullness at the bottom. All right, hopefully that clarifies your question. When sewing a jacket, the base jacket fits fine, but after adding lining, it seems snug across the back. Is this a sewing issue? Should I let the lining out? I cannot imagine in all my years that lining has made the jacket too snug. I think that's a what do they call that? A hypothesis error. Okay, I think it is. I don't think the lining could, lining is like this thick. It's so very thin that I have a hard time believing that it's the lining. However, I think overall the whole entire jacket is too small, so I would just simply maybe add a little bit to center back, add a little bit to the side seams, add a little bit to the underarm seam, just give the whole body a little bit more circumference, and the sleeves as well. And anytime you're constricted with movement, that in fact is circumference. So it's a circumference issue somewhere. Okay? Is there more than one kind of knit interfacing? I can't wear an undergarment. If can't wear an undergarment, and I was thinking that I wanted to try knit interfacing on an interlock. You guys are typing fast. I swear. Is there more than one kind of knit interfacing? Oh my goodness, there's a zillion interfacings out there. There's companies that all they do is sell interfacing. There's only one kind of knit interfacing that I use because I think 99% of them are just silly nonsense. And I had a dress line, and when I had a dress line, I only used one interfacing. It was either white or black. That's actually two, but one interfacing, the same knit interfacing. I don't think you need different weights. This is all my opinion. To me, the main reasons you interface are to secure something that's loosely woven, to retard wrinkling in linen, to add body, or contemporary things, we can do it to just simply not make them as sheer. So we can back a fabric so that it's not as sheer, not as viewable, if that makes sense. So when you go to fuse any fabric, it will no longer be fused. It will no longer have stretch. If you're fusing a knit, which I've done, but I didn't fuse it and then expect stretch out of it, because two fabrics that are fused together, when they stretch, something's going to pull away from the other. So there's a myriad of interfacings out there. I think that's what makes them so confusing. And I just try to figure out what's your purpose, what you're trying to do, and then what your needs are. I hope that helps. It is confusing though when you're looking at all those different kinds of interfacings and you're not sure where to go. Alright, did you change the bottom shape of the hem of the pink top you are wearing? No, this is the new, what is the pattern number? This is 105. This is the free pattern that we're giving away right now with the new 400 series. This is our last week of the 400 series sale. I wouldn't call it a pre-sale because we're not pre-selling it. It's already here and we're already shipping it. But we are offering that same pre-sale pricing that we used to when we did a pre-sale, which was if you bought the DVD series. The 400 series is out. I want to talk about it just for a second before we get started. The DVD series is the places we go and the clothes we should wear. So we did job interview, business casual, cocktail parties, black tie, white tie, graduations, weddings, and we did all the rules and what should be, and you can decide what you're going to break, etc., etc. And then we did where there's non-rules, which are parties and casuals and teas and luncheons and all those kind of things. So we took all those events that we go to and suggested clothing that we could wear, and then we did really easy outfits so that you could feel really comfortable in not having a whole, this laundry of clothes. We also did clutches, we did a hat, we did sun, beaches, we did all kinds of fun stuff. It's really fun. So that's the name of the series, the 400 series, the places we go and the clothes we should wear. And then with that comes this pattern. This is De La Renta's top, Oscar De La Renta. It's pattern number 105. It is for sale. If you buy the series right now, you get the pattern with it free. That will go until Sunday. All right? All right, how are we doing on questions? Okay? All right, sounds good. Okay, welcome. All right, so tonight we did culottes. And I think that I just, number one, really learned a lot doing this whole webcast, and I hope that I can portray all of that to you all, because when I first started, and I've been working on this for quite some time, and I've had some customers who said, I've had a lot of questions about culottes. The first thing you should know is men were the first ones who wore culottes, and when I first read that I thought, men wore culottes? Well, that really makes sense, because back in the Renaissance, women didn't even wear pants. So it would make sense that men wore it first. And when you Google culottes and when you look up definitions, and I looked up a whole bunch of different places, they actually have different definitions. They're flared trousers for men. They are trousers. They are a split, a divided pant, a full divided pant to the knee. There's actually many definitions. So what I thought was really interesting, one definition was a pant that resembles a skirt with enough fullness to resemble a skirt, which I think for most of us that's kind of what we think when we hear the word culotte. We don't really think just like knickers almost. That's kind of the word that came up to mind. Culottes are extremely popular for fall. They're on all the runway shows and they're coming. They're going to be here for fall. If you haven't seen yet any of the fall clothing, they're going to be here. Culottes are big and they're worn. Remember the over-the-knee boots that we had last year? The culottes are paired with those over-the-knee boots. So different lengths of culottes worn with tights, longer worn with boots, lots of really cute variations. So really my goal here tonight is to really get you excited about culottes, because in my mind, when the first questions started coming in about culottes, it was like, seriously? Like, if I just ignore these, will they go away? And I'm glad enough of you just kept after me, because I think they're absolutely adorable. So hopefully you get enough information tonight. Please ask questions as we go along. During the time that we're talking, that I'm talking, I don't want chatting and comments to go on, but if you have questions, we do want you to ask questions as it pertains to whatever it is I'm talking about, because I'm better off to answer them now as opposed to, during the week. All right, so again, culottes, we've got lots of things. Before I mention that, I do want to mention this fringe. The fringe, again, is really, really popular. And as we have seen fringe, we're seeing a lot of angular trimmed fringe. Now, we saw this 2 weeks ago, but I did one change to it in that I started cutting higher here and I angled it this way. And even if you can't see it, just recognize that all the fringe is not cut evenly. And because there's a lot of angular fringe is huge for fall. A lot of us are the kind of people who say, well, I don't really like it right now, but we'll get on board in another few months or so. It's angled. If it was straight across during the spring months, it's angled and a lot of angles. I saw just a really cute skirt and the whole thing was fringed with all kinds of angles on it. It was adorable. So all you have to do is cut up farther on one side. I actually kind of took a ruler and laid it down on the floor when I was cutting and then just cut to that spot so that I could get an angled line on it. But anyway, it's just really fun to wear, really fun to do. Okay, so where we're going to start with culottes. We did a little summer pattern grouping, and I'm actually, nobody in the office knows about it, but I'm going to extend that. It actually ended yesterday. I'm going to extend it because between last webcast and this webcast, the patterns that we're using, we're really using them a lot. So you're going to get a lot of use out of them. The summer group was 3 patterns. It was 2010, 3100, and 4000. It was those 3 patterns. There's no substitutions. Whenever we offer a group like that, they're pre-packed so that when somebody orders them, we just take them, and so the substitutions take way too much time. Can't do it. So we only offer those 3 together, and someone says, well, I have 1, but you get 1 free. Anyway, alright, so I want to start with the different patterns, and I'm going to show you how I did them. Now keep in mind that when I do a culotte, or when I did whatever it is I did, I actually changed up the bases I used. I didn't always use the same base. So I'm going to start with this one because it's really just the simplest. Wait, actually before I start with that one, I'm going to start with this concept. Back when we did handicap dressing, we did an overlay. Like this was the yoga skirt. And when we did the yoga skirt, we took, on both of these, we took and simply duplicated one more piece. So when you do that, and you could do that if you're talking about a culotte that just really has like an overlay on top, you simply take the side seam and you draw enough fabric to go to the other side seam. So you take it way past center front and then duplicate that so that it will hook into the waist of the opposite side seam. So that's how we did that. You can see that goes on that side, this goes on this side. When we go to the brown one underneath, we did the, oops, I'll turn it around, we did the same thing. There's enough fabric here to where there's 2 whole fronts. So if you're doing culottes in the simplest sense, this simply could be a piece of fabric that you sew into the side seam of a pant and that it goes on to the other side. But culotte is, in my study and my fun and all the things I did, culottes are so much more than that right now. They're not just a piece of fabric drawn over. In the old days, when I remember back in 3rd grade, we called them scooter skirts. Do you remember that terminology or what we called them? The first thing I ever made, in fact, was a scooter skirt, and basically they were culottes. They were a pair of shorts with like a little skirt front over them, and mine had one in the front and one in the back. So that's an easy thing to do. Okay, but now what we're going to do is start really changing them up. This is a pair of culottes. So you have to keep in mind that right now what's happening is designers are altering the names to be what they want them to be. So regardless of what we think culottes are, they are really just a split pair of pants. They're a widened leg, a full split pair of pants, a wide pair of leg, a wide pair of pants at the knees. That's what they're calling culottes. When you look up culottes and you see all the fall things going on, there's even a what do I want to say, a band at the bottom. What's that called? A cuff. There's a cuff at the bottom. So they look like short pants. So they're not necessarily all full. So in this particular case, I really wanted this to be, let me kind of show you the top. I wanted these to be fairly fitted. So this is 3200. I used 3009, the capri. I used that as a base. The reason I did that is what I wanted out of this was I wanted it to be a little lower at the waist, and I wanted a straighter leg. Now what I did with this is this is embroidered. This is the fabric we have. That's it's a linen. It's a black linen. Is I just added a pleat instead of there's no darts in the front. There's darts in the back, and there's the I don't know why my words are not coming tonight, but anyway, there's a a yoke, and the yoke takes into account the darts. But I decided I wanted a fuller leg, so I made the pleat. So the pleat that I made in this particular case, a little bit earlier tonight we talked about box pleats. This is not box pleat, it's just a wide pleat. It's actually, what I did is I added 4 inches at the top and only 2 inches at the bottom, and then the only thing I did was pleat the top. So that's kind of exactly what I was saying earlier, is I only stitched it down like 6 inches. You can see it says stitch to dart, stitch to dot. So I only stitched it down that far, and then I released the bottom, so the bottom itself is larger than the original capri. And so you don't want to add a pleat on something and then taper it to nothing, because it'll be too much fullness here and not enough here. I know that's all styling, but whenever you add a pleat you want to make sure that you're adding enough to kind of balance it out. So the straightest you can really do is to add a couple inches if you're going to add a pleat here. This is a 4-inch pleat, it goes in 2 inches and then it comes out to nothing. And I love these. I mean, I just really like them. I did no changes to the back, and then there's a fly in the front on the capri, and I just moved that to an invisible zipper at the side seam. Now what I did with the leftovers is I actually made a little linen jean jacket. So if I wanted to, I could wear the jean jacket with a black, no circles on this, I made it solid. You know, I could just change it up. It just gave me an opportunity to kind of mix it up a little bit and go from there. Alright, so to me that's probably the easiest way to do a culotte. We don't have a culotte pattern, although I'm seriously thinking about doing a culotte pattern. I have to decide by the end of the week, and I really think I'm going to do a culotte pattern because they're so strong. It would be perfect time to really do a culotte pattern. In my mind I keep thinking culottes is summer, and they're definitely not. They're definitely summerish, but they're being brought on strong for fall. Okay, now I want to move on to kind of the same thing, but we're just going to do a little version of it, a different version of it. Alright, we're going to do this one. And this one is, what I did here is I took 3100 now. 3100 is my base. And why is it my base? Because I wanted it to really be like a skirt. Alright? So I took 3100, I only made one little change. This is a border print. So this is a new border print we have up online. It's adorable, absolutely adorable. I didn't do anything to the back. The back is exactly like I did. But I did copy the pattern. I took 16 inches off the bottom. Now that's just where I wanted it. Decide how long you want them and then measure up the bottom and take the same amount off the front and the back. Alright, and then what I did is I need to probably measure these numbers for you so that they're exact. I added 4 inches. So when you do that, just slash through and add the same amount top and bottom all the way, 4 inches all the way, because what this is going to do is it's actually pleats to the front. And there's a 2-inch pleat there. Now that's 2 inches on each side. So I know you can't necessarily see this, but there's a 2-inch pleat right there at center front, and it's actually stitched. See, you can see there's another layer underneath here. So there's a box, well, it's an inverted box pleat is actually what it is. When we talked about box pleats before, and the box pleat came to the outside, this box pleat is in the inside. And so it's smooth on the front. It's stitched down, I stitched it down about 6 inches. And so this is all double layers here, and that's what creates that skirt look. Alright, so it's a real, because it's full in through here, and I left the elastic waist, so that's why I used 3100 as my base. I didn't make any changes except that I added the 4 inches. Now when you go to sew it, you sew the center front seam first, then you use the 2 sides, and the seam allowance is gone, and you put this together like this with the other one, and you sew this to the other front down, and then you make the box. Okay? So very, very simple to do, very cute, and just such a great, I mean, this is a great summer look to me, but this will be great for fall also. It's that easy. Now we're going to get more complicated. I'm taking you in steps, okay? because I was talking to the ladies this weekend, some of you just don't want any changes, some of you want lots of changes. So we're going to make everybody happy, and we're going to do all different levels. But anyway, so I love this. I think this is just real cute. You could just wear a black little t-shirt. I did a jeans jacket out of black linen. I've also got the little wraps that I did, the real easy sweater sets. So you can kind of do any of those different levels. Okay, so we'll put her away. This jacket is pattern number 900. It's called Carol's jacket. It's a jean jacket. It's our jean jacket. What I love about our jean jacket is it's got cup sizing. So a lot of jean jackets are just square. Ours has shape to it, and it's really, really nice. Okay, so these are a pair of culottes that I did. And so you can see here that the yoga pant is the base. Actually, I used the yoga skirt. Actually, what I did is I used 3100. I combined the yoga skirt with 3100, so I'll show you I'll tell you why. The first reason I did was because I wanted a band like the yoga skirt. I wanted them to really fit like the yoga skirt or the yoga pants, but I wanted them to be full. Ellie Tahari has a pair of culottes out for summer. They're called the Wylie Culottes. They're about $200, and that's what I copied with these. They have a very deep pleat in them, so if you look at this pleat goes all the way to center front, 4 inches out. 4 inches is pretty standard, so that's actually 8 inches that's added all the way through. Now, if you're doing what I did and I used 3100 as the base, 3100 has a lot of gathers, so you can just take those gathers and convert them back to a pleat. Anytime you have added fullness in its gathers, they don't have to be sewn as gathers. They can be sewn as pleats, they can be sewn as darts. As long as you take them away, you restore the exact pattern as to what it was, so you can have all kinds of options with them. So I went ahead and made that pleat large. This is a really cool border print. Love this border print. This is online, and it's a yard. The 1 yard goes from the teal kind of to the olive to the orange, even to a white. I left the white out. Obviously I didn't want that, but I just love the gradation. And I love orange, and orange is not one of my best colors, so it's really fun to kind of have that on something. Anyway, so these Wiley pants, these culottes, if you watch Ellie Tahari, when they have them online, the girls walking in, and they're actually slit when she walks. You can actually see the slit. So I slit these so that when you're just wearing them down, you don't see the slit, but then when you start to walk, this little slit comes up, and you can slit them as high up as you want to. The slit is actually at the inside of the pleat. It's at the very fold of the inside of the pleat, so it's really down from center front. Now again, when Ellie Tahari did a woven, they had to finish it off. They actually turned it under and stitched it all the way up. With a knit, you don't have to even worry about finishing it. I didn't. I just cut it and I left it. And so when I put them on and I walk, there's a fun little kind of a slit that shows, but I just really like them. They're really cute. Alright, so I started with the 3100. I added the pleat, I took it out, and I made it pleat up to be the size of the yoga band, the yoga skirt at the waist, and then I used the yoga band to make that fit. The back, I didn't make any changes. It's still just simply the same. And I used a border print, so it just really makes up a cute little top. Black is a great color to accent this with, so just a regular black tank, and this is the little sweater sets. You can do any of those. Or I could do my jean jacket if I decided I wanted to. On the graduated pants, these right here.
Well, how many yards do you need for those culottes?
For these culottes, you'd need 2 yards. These are the capri base. You'd need 2.
And then what's the first jacket?
The first jacket. Oh, this jacket.
Okay.
This jacket was 211. We did that on the webcast last time. I was just trying to use it and show you that if you do a couple of these bases, like the whites and the blacks and a couple good solid colors, you find that when you can do a black and white, you can really change it up. I did another one last time that was the purple, and the black and the white and the purple look so pretty together. It's really, really pretty. I tried a print, because I did another one that was a print, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it took away from me from all this beautiful embroidery. I mean, this is really a beautiful fabric, and I love the embroidery, and I wanted it to kind of show. So I left it simple on the top, but this is the 211. This is the white stretch lace. We had done that last time, so I didn't really talk about that. Sorry. All right. Okay. All right. So now what I want to do is take you into this one. See, I had so much fun with culottes, you guys. This one is the most fun yet. You ready for this one? Okay, so we'll move this up because I did a little bit different. I did a lot different with this, actually. So there's our culottes. I think they're just too cute. Let me get to where I can hold this. And you can see if I spread these really far, they're actually shorts. But there's so much fabric in there that they are making culottes. They're adorable. I love wearing this. Right after I made it, I had to wear it because it was just so cute. And then when I went to the Pinehurst, or we went to the retreat, I was going to wear them, and I thought, no, that's not really fair to wear them when I haven't even told anybody how to make them. All right, but there's this big box pleat in here again. So we're going to add a box pleat. An inverted box pleat is really what it's called. And then we're just going to add a lot of fullness. So we did the inverted box pleat both to the front and the back, and I'm going to take you through the pattern making process. So if you're ready, let's get started. Now in this particular case, because I had gathers, or because I had a few more gathers up here, I actually gathered the yoga skirt band onto this. I mean, I stretched it so there's a little bit of fullness through here. You could make it a one-to-one, and again I'll show you how, but let's start doing the pattern work for this. Alright, so where I started was, now every time I started with 3100, except for the straighter one, that was 3009. But I'm going to use this again because I purposely saved it so that I could kind of show you the steps. So this is 3100. I took 16 inches off the bottom, step one. Step number two, add the 4-inch pleat. Add it all the way down. So that's what I did to make this one. Alright, and then what I did is I actually copied this pattern because I knew I was going to go nutso with it, but I knew that I wanted to make some that were just normal. Yeah, I mean, I don't mean normal, but you know, not as full. So this is when I started to go nutso with it, and I was taking my, you can see here, I just started slashing and spreading. So slash, 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 slash. Now, for me, the numbers, if the yoga skirt at the bottom was 20 inches, this was now going to be 30. So I was actually adding, thank you, I was actually adding 18 inches is what I was adding. So now that's to each panel. I'm talking each panel. So no, it was 9 inches is what I was adding. Sorry. So I was taking that from 20 to 30, but I figured 9 inches in my brain additional because I did 9 places of slashing and each one was an inch. So I've talked a couple times, and I just want to warn you about this as you go to make your patterns and as you go to make your slashing. The whole reason for making slashes is to keep the hemline straight. I could make one slash and add 9 inches, but then I wouldn't have an ability to connect the hem. I wouldn't know how to keep it straight. So the reason I add additional slashing is to keep all of these slashes fairly even, and then it's very simple to just connect the hem and make it even at the bottom. So I did 9 slashes, 1 inch apiece, and I did them evenly throughout the whole entire garment. Now keep in mind, I had already added 4 inches for the box pleat, but I added 9 inches in addition to that box pleat. The box pleat was going to act as a box pleat, and the box pleat was in the middle. That was to make it look like a culotte in the middle to cover up the, like the, you know, inseams and stuff. You're doing this to the back and the front. Yes, this case, thanks, good question. In this case, you're doing it to the back and the front. Here's the front, and here's the back. So now you think about it, when you're doing this, you are doing, if there's 30 inches on each piece, that's 120 inches, which is pretty full. So you can decide how full you want it to be. If you don't want it to be that full, you know, you decide those numbers. How's that? All right, then what I did is that was for the styling. That's exactly what I wanted. I was going to do a box pleat here and fold this in and create that, and then the rest of it was going to be my fullness. But I wasn't done for me with the styling that I wanted through the waist. I wanted a yoga waistband. I wanted the yoga skirt waistband. So then what I did is I lined up the yoga skirt to the top of this. And this is all I needed the yoga skirt to be. So then I started slashing to the bottom and overlapping the top. Okay? Now keep in mind this has this 4-inch pleat, so that's, you know, once that's taken away, this will match my yoga skirt. Not completely, it'll have a little bit of easing in there, which is what I wanted. That's okay. But now you're going to slash, once you're slashing this way, you're going to slash the other direction now, because you're going to close up the top to take away some of the fullness at the top that's in the gathered pant, because instead of using the gathered waist, you want to use a more fitted waist. Okay, that's the next step. All of your slashes have to go to the waist. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's a good question. Or it's going to the crotch. No, somewhere in the crotch here. There's 2 in the crotch because, remember, I wanted that fullness. That's a very good question. I wanted the fullness all the way. So I took them just straight up, and 2 hit the crotch, but then the rest went up to the waist. Okay, very good question. Thank you. Okay. So they have to go to an exterior point, you know that, in order to spread, but then to make the waist smaller they go down to the bottom. It doesn't change the bottom circumference. It now allows you to shrink up the top and find out how much you want off of that. Okay, one more change, one more thing. Because I wanted it to be a you know, I wanted a yoga skirt band and not a fold over band. Remember when I started it was the elastic waist pants 3100. They're a great fitting pant. I love them, but I didn't want a casing. I wanted a yoke band, so I knew I had to take off of this portion. And so what I did is I took my yoga pants and I laid the crotches together and I cut off this extra. And what the extra really is the width of the band plus that fold over that you would normally have if you were doing a pair of elastic pants. So mine is about 5 inches, what I took off. Yours, you know, might be a little bit more, but you could do this and not do the band, and you'd get the same exact look. You would just have a little gathered waist. But what I wanted was the band at the waist. So here I have my little skirt. You know, all the changes I did was because of what I wanted. So I have the band there. These are actually culottes. They're just absolutely adorable. And so you can see the legs are full. Isn't that fun? And I have a little pleat in the front. And what that does is that covers the crotch because all the fullness hangs down right in front of the crotch. So it just, when you have them on, you can't even tell they're pants. Just adorable. And you know, I gotta tell you, this is an ITY knit. They just feel fabulous on. They're so comfortable. They're so cool. They're just really nice. They're really a fun change. And then I did the same. I have a box pleat in the back as well. And you guys know that you can change these styles up however you want. So you can do the front and not the back. You know, but because it had the effect of like a little skirt, and it's literally like you can pull it out to the sides, I decided to do the front as well as the back. The question is, are culottes good on a larger figure? Absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. They're just adorable. So this is really not about size. This is really about using the right fabric and the right combination. And again, you guys can add the fullness you like and the fullness you want and personalize it. If you want to add the box pleats and make the pants longer, like the current trend of pants, do you keep the bottom as wide, or how would you go about tapering the bottom of the pant leg? Good question. It's the next one. Can I show you the next one? All right, it's the next one. So what I did is, because I made the skirt, and I made the skirt, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, and I wore it and I just loved it. I decided I wanted a longer, the skirt that I did just then, that was a knee length. It was the same as my yoga skirt, or maybe a little below my knee, but I really wanted a longer one. So I did this. I hope this can see. I don't know if my ceiling's too low or... Anyway, I'm not sure this is... Here, we'll figure out...
Yeah, maybe we can just move this and show it.
Okay, so we're gonna move this down and flip out the table, and we'll put this down. Okay, so this is what I did. Here, we can take this little jacket off. So really what I wanted you to see is how they can penetrate so many different looks, is why I put a jacket on with it. This fabric is, we just put it up new. It's just really a beautiful fabric. But you can see these are all the pattern changes that I did before, but I added 6 inches to the bottom. So now you see you have this really full skirt. Well, it's not a skirt, it's pants. And it's exactly what culottes are. They're divided pants, or they're, you know, really full pants that look like a skirt. But what I did is I did a tank top to match, because it looks like a dress. And actually the reason I did it is I was shopping and I saw that they were in one. It was actually a one piece. It was like a little jumpsuit, but it was culottes with a tank top, and I thought that was just absolutely adorable. I did not connect mine. I tucked in my tank and I put it on with a belt. I didn't connect it because I couldn't see any real advantage of connecting it. I mean, in the store you do because you're going to buy it. That's the way they're presenting it. But I felt like there were so many things I could wear with this, and it gave me so much more versatility to wear this with what I wanted to, so I didn't connect it. I left them two separate pieces, but I absolutely think this is just so cute. What I had done, so I did, this is the same exact pattern now. It's got the yoga skirt. I mean, I'll take this off. It's got the yoga waistband. And so it's the exact same thing, but you can see it's a dress, and I think it's just dressy enough to even put a little jacket on, and it looks like a little dress underneath, but you've got shorts on, or culottes, whatever you want to call them. I just think they're really fun. Love this. I just had so much fun making this stuff, you guys. Thank you for pushing me to make this, because I really, really like it. And it's great. It's really fun. I had wanted to wear this jacket, but I was so tired of wearing it with my pants that I always wear it with. But now I have a new outfit, but it's still like pants. So now I'm excited. 3414 is Jags Woven. You could use anything you want as a base, you guys. What you want to look for when you're deciding upon what to use for a base, in my opinion, what I was looking for is how much fullness is at the waist, which is why I used 3100. And then what kind of waist I wanted it to have, which is why I brought in the yoga skirt. So when you're making your culottes, you just want to think about how much fullness do I want at the bottom, what do I want to do with it, and what do I want the waist to look like. And that really will make up your culotte. Your box pleats and your gathers, you're going to have to add that to anything you do. So it's just not going to matter, you know, what you choose. You're going to add the gathers anyway. So just look for those two things. What kind of waist do you want? What do you want it to be? A knit, a woven, zippered? You know, I did both. I did a zipper woven and I did a pull-on knit. So I did a little bit of both, and you can decide kind of what you want to do there. How do you keep the fullness from bunching between the legs? I don't know. That's a good question. It doesn't, because there's fullness everywhere. I mean, when you walk, it's just fullness everywhere. Typically, when you are, this is a knit, and you don't have a grain. When you are, there's a pattern making rule that when you lay a skirt on the grain, that you don't put the bias at center front. If you put the bias at center front, you get all the fullness at center front, and it'll all go between the legs. But that's on a woven, and this is a knit. So in this case, you can see that the fullness is equal all throughout the whole entire pattern. It just doesn't go between. It didn't go between my legs at all. I didn't have any issue with that at all. If you're worried about that, put more fullness to the sides and less to the center. The more fabric you have in the middle, obviously, the more it will go in between your legs. But my fullness was distributed all the way throughout the whole thing, so I didn't experience any problems with that at all. What would you do to make these pants out of woven? I don't think I'd do anything different. I would just put a zipper through the band. I've done a woven yoga skirt before, and instead of doing elastic in the band, you still do the band, but just do this, put the seam of the band at the side seam and then just put an invisible zipper through the side seam and the band. So instead of, normally you would put the seam of the band at center back, just move the seam to the side seam, goes to the left side seam, and you can put a little invisible zipper right at the side. These are not tight on me at all, so you wouldn't have, for me, I wouldn't have to change the sizing. There's extra fabric in there. If I were just doing it out of woven, I'd just have to get them off and on. So you could put a little invisible zipper through the side and be good to go.
What about
Greenline placement with woven is, you know, when I went back to, let's go back to this one that I did out of the black embroidered. I've got so many patterns around here. I don't know where it went. Oh, here it's up here, sorry. Okay, so when I added the pleat, I added it right at, well, the goal was for this to pleat this way. So this is where the grain is. It's the same place. Actually, it doesn't change. To answer the question, it doesn't change. It's still 4 inches to center front, and it goes down to the center of the leg because it pleats like that, and that's where your grain is. It's on top. So grain doesn't change. Okay? Alrighty? It's really fun. I hope I've inspired you guys to make some culottes. They're just, if you don't like them now, you will in another couple months, because I watched show after show after show for fall. There's so many cute culottes being shown. I think they'll grab on, and they make a lot of sense, especially with all the boots that we like in winter. And we wear tights, so why not do culottes? It just makes so much more sense to me than skirts. Anyway, okay, so we do have, we're close to 9 o'clock, we do have a little trivia question. Do we? And we'll ask it in the chat in a moment. But let me just remind you that tomorrow's the last day for the POM for 5/14 for June. 5/14 is the POM for June. We've got the package going, the 3 summer patterns. We're going to run that through Sunday, because for those of you who won't watch this webcast till a little later in the week, I think it's such a great value that I really think that it will really help you get the right pattern, the right base, add that fullness. Most of it's already done for you. It'll save you a lot of time. I think it took me a lot of time to just come up with the ideas or how much fullness. Hopefully the numbers will help you get there a little faster. And then Sunday, our PBS series also ends. Everything ends Sunday. And it's 4th of July this week, so hopefully you guys will have a wonderful 4th of July and nobody will get in any trouble, and you'll spend some time sewing for yourself, right? I know I will. We're working on the new patterns, and it's so exciting. We have so many good ideas. It's really fun. All right. So the chat's going to be coming up soon, or maybe it is. Watch for your chat box. Okay, the question is the bonus question. So this is worth $50, and it's the first one to answer it. Where did culottes originate? Where did culottes originate from? What country? Right? And from what period? Did somebody already get it? Okay, so men's fashion is where they originally started from. Men actually wore them, not women, because women didn't wear pants. And it was the Renaissance period. It was I think it was early 1800s, wasn't it? 19th century? I think it was early 1800s was the Renaissance. Late 18th century. All right, there you have it. See, you just never know what you're going to learn from silhouette patterns. All right, we have to say thank you all. Thank you all so much for joining with us tonight, and we will see you in 2 weeks. So we hope. Oh, question? Oh, Christy. I'm sorry, Christy, you are the winner. Congratulations. If you'll email me, Peggy@silhouettepatterns.com, I will email you back a code, and that code will be worth $50, and it'll be good for 6 months, so you can use it now, you can wait for a little while, or whatever. Congratulations, Christy, and thank you so much for watching. Good night, everybody. Happy sewing.